At University, we crossed our reporter Chriselda Lewis. Chriselda, good to talk to you. So we're seeing university management fighting hard to prevent disruptions of registration, and they're saying security cannot be compromised. So what's it like on campus today?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Natasha. Well, as you pointed out, that the situation remains calm here at Wits University, but as you can see here behind me, there is still a large presence of security personnel on campus. Certainly, the university management saying they cannot compromise on security here. But of course, as you also pointed out, there are some agreements that have been reached between the university's management together with the Student Representative Council. There are some sectors, of course, part of the Fees Must Fall campaign that seem to be unhappy about some of these agreements that have been reached between those two parties. Let's chat now to some of the stakeholders in this particular issue. Let's start with Sharona Patel, who is Wits University's spokesperson. Sharona, if you could just bring us up to speed with what some of these agreements entail with regard to outsourcing, and of course one of the pertinent issues as well is the student debt.
Yes, so management and the SRC have been in negotiation for a few days, and last night agreed in terms of debt relief and debt management on four things. The first is that students obviously will not pay a registration or upfront fee at all. They will be required to pay a fee at the end of March. That's their first installment. If they still cannot pay it, they will enter into a repayment plan with the university. Secondly, the university has agreed that all students who owe 15,000 Rand or less at the end of last year would be allowed to graduate and pay that money back once they start working. Thirdly, for those students who owe between 0 and 1,000 Rand, they will automatically be allowed to register this year. That's for 2016, and the monies that they owe would then be rolled over to this year. Fourthly, the university has agreed that all students who can pay their own way in 2016 will be allowed to do so and will be allowed to register. The university will, together with the SRC, fundraise for students who owe debt between 1,000 and 5,000 Rand and between 5,000 and 20,000 Rand as well. We'll do that both through various efforts, including approaching government and the public sector.
But an agreement was reached pertaining to outsourcing last year already. The issue now is the implementation. Where is that process at the moment?
Okay, so we are pleased to report that we've had 3 successful meetings. A fourth one takes place tomorrow, as far as I know. We've almost agreed on what the minimum wage will be. So as far as outsourcing is concerned, we've come a long way. We've agreed to implement our outsourcing. The question is just how do we go about doing that? We are currently tied to some of the contracts with our service providers, but we are looking over the long term, as those expire, how we then implement insourcing rather. So I think at this stage we've made tremendous progress in that regard, and some of it is entailed in the agreement with the SRC and other bodies.
But certainly there's another section to this impasse, is the Fees Must Fall campaigners. Them essentially saying that Wits management is negotiating with the wrong people, and what they did not want to see is a rollover of their debt, which you speak of, some of their debt being rolled over to this year, to 2016. How do you plan to engage the Fees Must Fall campaign to ensure that at some point this impasse does come to a standstill?
Okay. The university is committed to engaging with all groups on campus, whether it's students, staff, outsourcing, etc. The reason why we cannot cancel any historic debt, etc., is because it wouldn't be financially sustainable. We agree with the students that there should be access to quality, affordable, free higher education. The question is, how do we get there and how do we resource it? We believe that there should be a national imperative that the public and private sectors should be coming to the party, and we are happy to work with the students in that regard. We, however, are aware that it can't happen overnight. We have taken the lead and have engaged government, the ministers and others in this regard. We've made some progress, stopgap measures for this year, but we welcome the Ministers' Commission that will look into this matter and make recommendations on how in the long term we can have a different funding framework for higher education.
Just before I move over to the Fees Must Fall campaign, with regard to stability on campus at the moment, there's still quite a large presence, as you can see here behind us. Obviously, the university is saying that you're not going to compromise on security, but students don't seem to be happy about the current environment, which some would say paints a hostile picture.
Well, part of the agreement with the SRC is that the security will be asked to step down on 3 conditions. The first is that if we can guarantee the safety and security of all staff members and students on campus. Secondly, that all registration activities take place without disruption. And thirdly, that all university activities, classes, etc. Continue unhindered. We are also saying that no buildings on campus can be occupied by any particular group, and that no one can block access or entrance points, exit points, etc. to the university. So that's part of the agreement. It also forms part of the court interdict that we obtained on Friday, which lasts up until the end of January, and which we can make a final order of court from February onwards. So we're doing that in order to protect the staff and students on campus.
All right, let's let the Fees Must Fall campaign join us at the moment. Busisiwe Siabi. Busisiwe, are you at all happy with the current arrangement? We understand there are some agreements that have been reached, but what you are saying is that those negotiations were held with the wrong people.
Yes, the negotiations were held with the wrong people. I mean, the sentiments that we've been echoing since last year was that if management wants to meet with Fees Must Fall, they're more than welcome to do so at Solomon House, which is our official house, which is situated at Concourse at Senate House, which was known as Senate House before. And management could have just called us to that meeting and would have sat down, because as Fees Must Fall, what we've been doing in this time is that we've been coming up with models and suggestions to see how we can make sure that every student benefits from the Asina Mali campaign, right? So what we've seen is we are happy with the fact that management is trying to some extent to deal with some of the demands and the issues that we have raised on campus, although they are meeting with the wrong people. What we are doing at the moment is we're consulting with our legal advisors and with the students, which is very important because we do get our mandate from the students on to see whether they are happy with these demands and these agreements that have been reached with management and SRC. And just lightly, they've touched on things like an OAD that they're not happy about and other things such as that. So we're still trying to find out from the students themselves if they're willing to continue on with the academic year. If not, we're still going to protest.
That acknowledgement of debt was one of the issues that you were concerned about, and the rollover of that debt, as Sharona has pointed out, the debt that students owe in 2015 to be rolled over to 20. That's one of the issues that you're concerned about. What are some of the issues in that document that you're not satisfied with at the moment?
It would be the acknowledgement of debt, where students have to sign an agreement and have their money rolled over. Another thing is the document doesn't mention anything about NAFSA students that have been rejected. So these are students doing their second year, their third year, their final years. It doesn't touch on those students. So now they're sitting with half degrees at home, unable to pay registration fee and unable to afford their fees, which is a very big problem. I don't think that the SRC took that into cognizance when they were consulting with management, but we have, because we have the complaints of the students, we have them in writing, we have emails and so forth, and we have open communication with students. So those are the things, those are the small issues that we have a problem with. Another thing also with regards to insourcing, right? So the university and the SRC agreed to an amount between 4,000 and 5,000 for workers that are going to be insourced without having consulted the workers themselves to find out if this is a figure that they're happy with.
Is that true, Sharona?
That's absolutely not true. The task team includes workers, it includes student representatives. In fact, it includes people from your group as well. So I think that's absolutely not true. Yeah. So.
All right. So where to from here for the Fees Must Fall campaign? What are you saying? There's an agreement that has been reached between the SRC and management. You're saying that excluded you. What's the way forward?
The way forward now is we're going to meet with the workers. As Sharona has mentioned, that we're very close with the workers on campus, along with campus control, because they're not happy about the private security that has been hired here and is being paid while they haven't been paid yet. Their night shift wages. So we're going to be meeting with all those groups, and we're going to consolidate together as students, as workers, and as campus control to see our way forward.
Sharona Patel, who is the Wits University spokesperson, and Busisiwe Siabi, who is with the Fees Must Fall campaign. Thank you very much to you both for joining us. But certainly, while agreements have been reached here, Natasha, there certainly continues to be an impasse here where the Fees Must Fall campaigners are saying that they were not consulted before these agreements were reached, essentially saying that the SRC itself, if I may, essentially sold them out, did not include them when it came to negotiations with management. As to how this proceeds, certainly what it seems like at campus at the moment is that the security will remain here on campus. The Fees Must Fall campaigners are consulting with their lawyers at this point to see what their way forward is. They say they will communicate that shortly after 1 o'clock this afternoon, and they'll certainly take it from there. But for now, it's back to you in studio.
Chriselda, thank you very much. That was an update from Wits University from our reporter Chriselda Lewis.